everybody. Welcome to the Live Young Instagram Live show. We are talking about 5 easy tips to implement to curb your sugar cravings. And I have a special guest today. Matt Major is going to be joining us, so I'll let you guys start coming on. But yeah, it's February. Happy February, everybody. That means Valentine's Day candy is going to be right upon us in all of the stores. There's Matt. Okay, so let me see if I can get... Oh my goodness. Let me get Matt on here. Steps, you guys, to control your sugar cravings. So that's what today's topic is all about. And I have vitamin supplement expert Matt Major. Hi, Matt.
Hey,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. Can you believe it's February?
No.
What?
Although January was so long, it felt like, so this is great.
Well, I'm sure it felt very long for people that were having a dry January. It probably felt like it was
Absolutely
3 or 4 months combined. Hi, everybody. I know you guys have many different places where you could be on this Saturday at 12, and I'm just so grateful that you are here with me and Matt, and you're going to learn 5 easy tips to control your sugar cravings. So very manageable. We're going to go through all of them. So the first one, and Matt and I, you guys know Matt has been my supplement rep for the Live Young supplement line. And we're going to get into some of those tips later on. But Matt and I were having a conversation about cravings because it's February and that Valentine's Day candy is coming. And people usually hold their shit together for their New Year's resolutions, but sometimes that doesn't last through February. So we were having a conversation about how he controls his cravings, how I control my cravings, how I teach my clients. And we thought, let's just jump on a Zoom and get this done. So the first one, Matt, the first of the 5 tips to control your sugar cravings is to crowd out the bad crap, right? And this is what we were talking about earlier about, just not having the highly processed foods in the house. So tell me a little bit about how you do that. I'll tell you how I do that, because it's, there's a lot, especially when you have kids. I have children. It's hard to get to have everything in the house that only you want to consume.
Yep. Absolutely. I think there's quite a few things you can do, but the simplest thing you can do is avoid eating simple sugars as much as possible, but especially avoid eating simple sugars with fat.
Ooh.
So one of the things to understand is everybody kind of likes to attribute, not, giving in to your cravings, all those things, and relate it to like, how strong your will is not to do something. And really, as an example, when you eat simple sugars with fat, it actually changes the way your brain chemistry works and releases dopamine. So it's a reward-based thing that you don't even know you're doing in your body. And the result of that can last for hours in a day and even into the evening. So let's say you go out to lunch and you have a fatty, healthy meal you perceive, right? And then you eat like a really simple sugary dessert afterwards, right? Well, you're going to come out and you're going to have a high from that. And that effect can last for 8 to 12 hours. So now all of a sudden you have this craving in the evening that you can't control. So I think the first and simple thing we can do is avoid simple sugars as much as possible. But if you're going to have them, it might be better just to have them by themselves, versus eating them after a normal meal. When I say fats, I mean even healthy fats, right?
Even
Yep.
healthy fats. Interesting. I know we were talking about, not putting the junk food in your house in the first place.
Yep.
Right? So there's a particular time of day when you go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
When is that?
Yeah. So, speaking for myself, I never have cravings in the morning or the afternoon or anything sweet. So I always try to do my shopping when I'm going to the grocery store in the mornings or lunchtime when I'm making good decisions, right? I'm never going at 8 o'clock at night because then I'm going to walk down the wrong aisle, right? And so
Yeah.
my philosophy has always been if it's not in my house and I've got to get in my car to drive somewhere because the craving's so strong, well, so be it. But the majority of the time, if I have a craving and it's not in the house, I'm either going to make a smart decision and have something else, or I'm just going to say, no, I'm not doing it, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think just preparing and going shopping, so what gets into your house is what you want in your house.
Yeah. And I always say, like, again, I've got my 24-year-old daughter that still lives with us, and her eating habits are literally the 180
Yep.
of mine.
Yep. I have an 8-year-old, so you can imagine.
Oh my God, I can imagine. So my thought has always been, and when I coach my clients, when I coach my one-on-one clients, I never want somebody to be deprived of something that they actually love. Like, this brings them so much joy. For example, for me, it's black licorice.
Hmm.
So I'm not going to give up the black licorice, but I'm strategic about when I have it and what I have first. But to crowd out the bad stuff, to crowd out the stuff that is sugary, that's going to spike your blood glucose level, with the good stuff, I've always taught my clients, add, add to lose
Yep.
weight. You think you want to deprive yourself, that's what screws up your metabolism, but adds the good stuff to lose weight. And so I want to go over really quickly, what is the good stuff?
Yep.
Because it's not necessarily what you think. So this is, for example, somebody might think, well, I'm not going to have that cupcake. I'm going to have some macaroni and cheese. And I got these off of a post that Dr. Mark Hyman just did on Instagram. But I thought they were so funny that I thought, when we're crowding out the bad stuff with the good, and that's just adding all the whole foods, adding things like nuts and seeds,
Yep.
right? Prior to anything else that you have, adding real foods, single ingredient foods. It doesn't mean that you opt for something like this. This is probably in your pantry if
So
you've
I was
got an 8-year-old.
just gonna say, my daughter loves mac and cheese, and we try to find, the best option we can. Um,
So look at this,
yeah.
mac and disease.
Yes.
It says, with heart disease causing ingredients, calcium triphosphorate, sodium phosphate, sodium triphosphorate. So mac and cheese, I love how he did this, mac and disease, because it's not real food.
Yep.
Real food doesn't really come in a box, in a bag. So when we talk about crowding out the bad stuff with the good, you have to know what real food looks like. And again, here's another one I thought was funny. This is GMO corn styrofoam, flamin' hot red number 40. I mean, it's not real food,
That's
right?
right.
And I know that we've just gotten rid of, in the US, I think, red dye number 3, but there is a whole list of other dyes that are detrimental to our health, that are cancer causing, that are still on the shelves.
Yep.
So knowing what you're eating. This one shocked me, not really, but it might shock a lot of you. I make my own oat milk from scratch. At least I would say my husband does. We make our own almond milk. We make our own cashew milk because we have a machine that does that. And I stopped buying the healthy plant-based milk alternatives because there's a bunch of crap in them. This one says, spikes your blood sugar as much as a soda. This is oat milk.
Yep.
Spikes your blood sugar as much as a soda. Super sugar oat juice with canola oil.
And I can actually speak to that person. We had some guests that stayed with us over the holidays, and they drank oat milk and left it in the fridge. And I was like, oh, like with my protein shakes, I have like the cleanest like almond milk that you have, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'll try it. And it tasted so good. And 30 minutes after, I felt
Like,
terrible, like
yeah.
absolutely horrible. And I was like, what? Whatever. And I did it again the next day because that's what we do. And then I was like, oh, it's the oat milk.
It's the oat milk.
Yeah.
Because you have to think about it. And sometimes it's not with everybody, but for a lot of people, even things like Oatmeal,
Mm-hmm.
oats
Yep.
spike your blood
Yep.
sugar level. Almonds, which have more protein, they don't. That's why if you had to choose between a store-bought oat milk and a store-bought like cashew milk or a nut-based milk, almond milk, cashew milk, walnut milk, it's going to be much better than buying an oat milk. But we do this in the name of our health, thinking that we're
Yep.
being healthier.
And I
So I
think
thought
this
that
brings
was,
up a good point, just to circle back a bit,
yeah,
is let's say you do that in my situation and I feel terrible, right? So my dopamine levels are down, okay? Because I'm gonna turn this into more of a neurotransmitter conversation than just feeling like crap, okay?
yeah.
So what's the natural inherent thing we want to do? We want to make ourselves feel better. So what do you think I'm reaching for, right?
You're not reaching for broccoli.
That's right.
I can tell
That's
you
right.
that much. You're reaching for things that are like, the feel good foods, the
Yep.
sugar, the highly processed carbs, because you just spiked your blood sugar with your oat milk and then it crashed. And we want sugar as quickly as we can, so we feel better. So what you eat 3 hours prior to you grabbing that cupcake or that donut or that cookie is really affecting your ability to say no, and even the thought process of you wanting that in the first place. It
Yep.
starts with what you put in your body prior to
And
that. I have a couple more of these I thought was pretty funny. This is the Crafts. I grew up on this stuff.
mm-hmm.
These are Kraft singles. Here's what it says. What the fuck is pasteurized prepared cheese product? And then it says, not a single bit of cheese. So I thought these were pretty funny in that when we're looking for stuff, even with hydration, and that brings us to the next point. That brings me to the next point. So the first one, remember, was crowd out all of the bad crap with the good. Eat all the good first. So when you're getting hungry and you think like, oh, I'm starving, that's why I always have right in front of me nuts. This is on my counter
Mm-hmm.
all the time. It never gets put away. Nuts, seeds, things like that, high fiber fruits, things like that are always available, avocados that will help more regulate your blood sugar level. But the thing that I've learned in school, and I'm always learning, but one of the things I learned in school in gerontology was that as you get older, your thirst receptors decline. So we often mistake hunger we often mistake, thirst for
Mm-hmm.
hunger. So we think that we're hungry when actually we're very dehydrated.
Thirsty.
And we talked about this morning. Tell me about what you have noticed with women and dehydration in
Yep.
particular.
So I work primarily with medical professionals of all kinds, and I've been doing this for 15 years. And the number one thing I hear from, especially my MDs, is that the women that they see are inherently, almost always, especially as they age, dehydrated. And they'll
Yeah.
come into the office with all these issues, and my doctor's like, I just want to tell them to just drink water, right? And they look at me like, I'm an idiot, like that's not going to solve anything. And it's really the simplest things. If you just drink enough water every day, you wake up in the morning, you have a 10, 12-ounce glass of water, then you do the same thing 2 hours later and so forth, and then you eat more fiber, probably a lot of your problems are going to dissipate, right? The issues that you're experiencing, including
Absolutely.
the neurotransmitter mental issues.
Absolutely. And when you are dehydrated, this is not what you want to reach for. So we think when we're looking at dehydration, we're thinking electrolytes, right? And I do use LMNT, like I do believe in electrolytes, but when you're looking at something like this as Gatorade, this is red 48, causes ADHD, cancer, migraines, and more. Quenching thirst, but drowning in artificial ingredients. So when you're thirsty, it doesn't mean that like, oh, I don't want to eat so much, so I just want to make sure that I'm hydrated. Darnell and Matt are telling me I need to be hydrated. Let's grab a Gatorade. No,
Just drink water.
just drink water.
Yep.
And and this has to do with our planning too about this. If your knee-jerk reaction when you wake up is to drink a giant glass of water, before you have any caffeine, before you do anything, you're already one step ahead of most people on the planet, because most people don't do that. The first thing they do is drink a cup of coffee, which is a diuretic, which kind of dehydrates you a little bit more.
The first thing I do every morning is wake up and have honestly like 14 to 16 ounces of water within the first 5 minutes of being awake.
Yeah,
And it changes a lot.
it does. It changes a lot. I drink about an 8 hour, hello.
8 hour energy there.
I drink, yeah, I filmed all day yesterday. It was exhausting, but very exciting stuff coming. I wake up and drink like an 8 ounce to 10 ounce glass of water right away, but then I brew 40 ounces of green tea.
Mm-hmm.
So before, in my whole morning routine, I've already had 40 ounces with one tea bag. So think about how diluted that is. 40 ounces of matcha green tea plus another 8. That's before I ever even, I want to say within the first hour of waking up, within the first hour of waking up. I want to show you one more thing that I do when we're talking about water, but hold on for 1 second because it's over this direction. So the next thing we're going to get to, and maybe you can touch on this, Matt, because we always talk about this when I talk about like cravings and fiber and all that, which we're going to get to our products later. One of the things that we always talk about is what is it that we're actually hungry for? Why is it that we're eating? And you talk about foundational nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
As a lack of foundational nutrition as a reason for cravings to continue to happen. So as I go get my water thing, I want you to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think the first step in this, what we're getting at is what's the root cause? Why are you making this decision that you're making? Why are you reaching for the sugar or whatever it is? If you can answer that for yourself and solve that, then you can solve the problem and prevent it from happening. And in most cases that I see these days, it revolves around the example I gave earlier of neurotransmitter dysfunction. If you think that if you look at the example of if we just consume water, healthy fibers, complex carbohydrates, and protein all day and healthy fats, our blood sugar is basically going to be flat all day, right? But as soon as you introduce something like sugar and fat, well, there's a spike now in the curve, right? So whenever there's a spike, we know there's going to be a dip, okay? So
Yeah.
when we dip, we're going to reach for and make the poor decision. So that is, for the vast majority of the population that are struggling with cravings, that's the issue right there. So can you figure out what's causing that spike for you and eliminate it so you don't experience the dip?
Yeah. We got a question from Jobo 915. She's suffering from POTS and she's always dehydrated and needs electrolytes, especially salts all day. That's very interesting that you say that, Jobo 915, because this is a part of my daily, and this is Element T.
Yep.
You might have seen some of these, but it's a combination of sodium and potassium and magnesium in a specific order that allows like our whole body to be more hydrated. So you're utilizing that water better. So I was trying to look for my big container that I normally every morning while I'm brewing my tea, while I'm getting my stuff around, I dump one of these into a giant, I'm say it's got to be 16 ounce, no, it's got to be 32 ounces of a water bottle. It's upstairs, so I didn't want to like have to run up there. And I will throughout the day, instead of water, make sure that I get at least that big container of electrolytes.
And then you're sipping on that all day, right? So there's not a reason to go grab something, right?
No.
I have this, and that's one of the things I do as well. I have a big water bottle, and that's just kind of goes with me wherever I go, and I just sip on that all day, right?
Yep. So so for that one person, Jobo, it's tired. I don't understand. Oops, sorry. It's tiring and I suffer. Ooh, shoot. Cancel. Wow, every time I touch my phone these days, I feel like
I know.
I feel like I need to get a new diet. Somebody just said, "How do you feel about a carnivore diet?"
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
I always,
just
look,
by looking at the blue zones,
this,
let's just look at history, okay?
I always look at like, there's tons of different types of diets out there. And look, if you try the carnivore diet and you think it works for you, great. But I always just go to the common sense thing. Like, if you're just eating meat all day, what is going to be the result of that? And more importantly, is that sustainable for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
And I don't think it
And
is.
no, it's not. And I tell my clients this a lot. If your body is so used to eating shit, like literal crap, if you switch to a carnivore diet, you're going to lose weight. It does not mean that it's healthy for you.
Yep.
It just means you are taking some of the crappy processed foods and you're, like we said on number one, we're crowding out the bad with better choices. So is going carnivore better than eating this shit? Absolutely. You're going to lose weight, but it's not sustainable. If you look at the blue zones from around the world, there's not one single blue zone where people are living, the centenarians, where they're living that long and in a large number of people where they are having a carnivore diet.
Yep.
It is predominantly plant-based with small amounts of meat and very limited, if not any, processed food. That's the key to longevity.
Yep.
So carnivore diet and keto diet and all of these different things, if you just got back to understanding that this is a real food and this is not, and you started only crowding out all the bad shit with the real stuff, it's a much healthier and more sustainable way to lose weight. Okay, let's get to the root cause. Because we did talk about foundational health, and I tell this to my clients as well, we do have a healthy aging supplement that honestly, I can feel a difference when I take this. It's not like your normal supplement, but I've oftentimes told my clients, if you're deprived in, like, let's say B12, if you're deprived in anything, if you're deprived in iron, if you're deprived in whatever, your body, your brain is going to want to consume to try to fill in those nutritional gaps that we're lacking from not being on an all-inclusive multivitamin. And when we're filling in those nutritional gaps, our brain doesn't tell us, oh, we need calcium right now. Oh, we need iron, or oh, we need vitamin D. It just is saying you're lacking something. And so it's causing cravings because you're lacking key nutrients that your body needs. Have you found that in your research as well?
Absolutely. And there was a question here about dehydration and blood work and electrolytes. So just to touch on this topic, GLP-1s and all these things that are going around right now, everybody's saying, hey, nobody's eating enough protein. So people are like, oh, I need to eat more protein, which, you know what? That's fine. A lot of people don't get enough protein. But as you increase your protein intake, what do you need to do? You need to increase your H2O intake, because
Yeah.
the more protein you eat, okay, whether it's a protein shake or meats or whatever it is, the more water you need to take in daily to balance that out. If you
Yeah.
dramatically increase your protein intake and don't increase your H2O intake, you will become dehydrated. It's not an electrolyte issue. It's a lack.
And now on the flip side of that, when you are making muscles
Yep.
in the gym,
Yep.
because muscles aren't made in the kitchen, they're supported in the kitchen, but they're not made in the kitchen. You need to actually tear that muscle
Yep.
fiber in order to build it back. And then you need the support of nutrients to be able to do that. But when you, especially, these midlife women that are like, they haven't seen a gym in a long time, and all of a sudden they're like, you know what? I'm gonna freaking go for it. Good for you, because we all have to take that step, and you're never too old to ever start doing anything. Start now, start now, start now, because it will increase your lifespan and change your health trajectory. But you have to understand that with the building of muscle, it takes more water to maintain that.
Well, that and you produce more waste because your body is breaking down muscle. It's called basically it's a form of nitrogen waste. So your body wants to get rid of that through urination, right? Well, if you're dehydrated, that presents a huge problem for your body, right?
Totally.
And so it's key, especially the more active you are, the more muscle building you're doing, the more water you should drink. So the rule is let's just drink more water.
Let's
right?
just drink
Everybody.
more water. Before you do anything, let's say you're grumpy, drink water. Let's say you're sleep deprived, drink water. Let's say that you're hangry, you've got some cravings, drink water first. You got a headache, drink water first.
Yep. Yeah, I think a great simple tool is if you're having a craving, it's 8 o'clock at night, I do this for whatever it is. I'll drink some water and take my dog for a 5-minute, 10-minute walk.
Yes.
And when I get back, like I completely forgot about my craving. Like it's gone, right?
It's funny you say that because that is one of our things. So one of our tips, and that's actually 4. So we skipped number 3. So remember, number 1 is crowd out the bad with the good. Don't buy the shit if you don't have to, but crowd out the bad with the good. I'm not saying don't eat the bad, but crowd it out. Eat the good first. You'll realize you'll eat a lot less of that. Drink water. And then number 3 was get to the root cause. What's causing you to crave it in the first place? Because we feed our bodies for multiple different reasons, right? It's not just because we're hungry. We feed our bodies, we already said, when we're thirsty. We also feed our bodies when we're depressed. Some people feed their bodies when they're anxious. Some people feed their bodies when they're in a bad relationship, when you've had a bad day at work, when you're pissed off at your boss. You know, we look for these types of, and I don't want to say excuses, but oftentimes we give ourselves permission for bad behavior.
Yeah, it's a short-term reward that has
Yeah.
consequences for sometimes hours and even days down the road because it
Yeah.
cascades into more and more bad decision making.
Yeah. So number 3 is just step back and take a good look at, are you actually hungry?
Yep.
Are you actually having these cravings? Or are you stressed? Are you depressed? Do you need to move? Are you thirsty? Get to the root cause of that. Are you lacking sleep? Are your hormones imbalanced? What's causing you to reach for that donut in the first place? So that's number 3, get to the root cause. Number 4 is move your body. And that's where you drinking a glass of water, Matt, and going out for a walk, it gives your brain time to change its mind, to realize that maybe not what you were craving.
And you're getting that natural spike in serotonin versus an artificially induced one, which means if you go back here to that curve, the curve's going to just be a slight little bump in the road, a little hill, which is good and normal versus the mountainous spike.
Yeah, absolutely. My husband always says, no matter what, if it's if you're having an emotional crisis, if you're having a food related crisis, you've got cravings, if you're just in a bad way, my husband's quote is, change the temperature in the room.
100%. Yep.
And sometimes the way to do that is get the hell out of that room.
Yep.
And get moving, right? I don't know what I just did. I had that little thumb. I'm going to see if I can do it.
I do a lot of virtual meetings and stuff, Zooms, and all of a sudden there's all these AI things that pop up. Like, I don't know. I don't understand it.
Okay, so that was number 4. Let's just recap. Number 1, crowd out the bad crap with the good stuff, right? Have those things available to you at all times. Number 2, drink water. When all else fails, drink water first. Start with water. Number 3, get to that root cause. What are you actually craving and why? Is it because it's emotional? Are you having an emotional distress? I often tell my clients, if you had a bad day and you felt like you needed a donut and your boss is an asshole and you just thought, I deserve this donut. If you had to eat raw celery or just a stalk of plain romaine lettuce, a leaf of plain romaine lettuce until you felt better, you feel better a lot quicker, right?
Yeah. And
We
you'd eat a
give
lot
ourselves
less.
permission. Yeah,
Yep,
you need
yep.
a lot less. We give ourselves permissions for bad behavior. Screw it. I've had a bad day. I'm going to go plop my ass down in front of Netflix and eat a bag of Doritos. That's giving yourself permission for, if you had to plop your ass down in front of the television and eat plain romaine lettuce, no dressing or anything, your bad day might pick itself up a little
That's
bit
right.
quicker. So getting to the root cause. Number 4, we talked about moving our body, changing the temperature of the room, getting out there. Now we're at number 5, which is our go-to products from the Live Young line, which are going to blow your mind. And this is what I'm having so much success with my clients in doing. And it starts with fiber. It is one of our best selling products, right? We sell this more than anything, Matt,
Yep.
right?
And it is the most in my world, all my doctors, everyone I work with is trying to find solutions for this and that and this and that, right? And generally speaking, the first thing I always bring up is fiber. Like make sure their diet has enough fiber and then use this as a tool. And there's a lot of ways that you can use this product as a tool.
Yes, but and I want to say this. If we stopped trying to, if the marketing of we need all this protein, 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 extra protein gets stored as fat. Everybody, extra anything gets stored as fat, and protein comes from animals. You don't get, and plants, of course, but fiber only comes from plants. So you could eat more plants. That's a solution. But you can also utilize this product to slow down the way all the rest of the garbage hits your bloodstream. And I want to show you, Matt, I put 2 scoops. I'll show you guys exactly what I did. Let me see if I can bend this down a little bit. Hold on. Okay. So here's what I did. I took Fiberline. This was right before our show started. I took 2 scoops of this. I'm not gonna waste it because I'm gonna drink it right now because I break my fast right after our show. So stir it around. This is what it looks like when you just stir it around. It has no flavor. You can see the little kind of bobo things floating around in there. I'm gonna just down this real quick. Hold on one second. There's no flavor. There's no real texture at all. It tastes like nothing. Sometimes you'll get like a little tiny bit of that boba, you can kind of see them on the side of the glass.
Yep.
So what I do is I down this whole thing, I fill it back up with water, swish it around a little bit, and then down it again about 15 minutes before I eat.
That's right.
It has changed completely, not only how I feel after I eat, but what I eat 3 or 4 hours
That's right.
later. It stops those cravings because, let me finish this real quick
Yeah,
first.
and
Hold
I'll
on. You
just
can
say,
explain, then I'll
yeah,
go ahead
the,
and explain it
the
all.
most popular drug in the world right now is the GLP-1. And the main benefit, if you want to call it that, is that it promotes satiety, right? It makes you feel full all the time. Now, without getting into all the weeds there, what does this do, what she just did? It promotes satiety. It makes you feel full, but it's also a nutritional benefit, both for cardiovascular health, but also one of fiber's main roles in our body is to bind to things so we can excrete them, right? So if we're deficient in fiber, it's hard for our body to get rid of things. But in this instance, all she's doing is a simple trick, drinking 16-ish ounces of water, taking a good amount of fiber, and now whatever meal she's going to have is going to fill you up, and you're not going to have cravings because we're not going to get that mountainous spike that we talked about.
Yeah, and that's so important. So not only does this fill you up, because I did this right before we got on the show. So this has been sitting now for 34
Yep.
minutes. And so if you do this 15 minutes prior, you see how this creates, there's like a mesh, right? It's like this goopy mesh. So imagine this lining the small intestines. When this lines the small intestines, and that's where your food gets converted into glucose and gets pulled through the lining of the small intestines. Now think about Can we mix it with chia seeds? I am a skincare girl. Yeah, you can, but you'll have to just, chia seeds are going to be a little bit crunchy. This is not. This
Yeah.
is like a
There's
smooth
no
film.
rules with this fiber. You can do whatever you want with it. I mean, if
Do
I'm
whatever you
mixing it with
want.
chia seeds, maybe you eat it as like a pudding almost, like 45 minutes later, but to each is their own.
Yeah, you could add that. You could add this to a chia seed pudding. You could do it however you want. But you want to drink it right away,
Mm-hmm.
because if you let it sit, just like I let this sit for now 35 minutes, this is what it happens, and that shows you what it does inside your body. And when you are drinking something like this, and then you're eating your donut, or like your, whatever it is that is your go-to cookies or whatever, it creates that mesh in the lining of the small intestines. And what's very important about that is not only does it help you to eat less, but it slows down the way that processed food, that sugars, get pulled through that lining of the small intestines. And the slower that we can do that, the less likely we're going to spike insulin, and the less likely it's going to be stored as fat, which usually, my friends, is around the midsection.
Correct.
What are the ingredients of this product? Matt, you want to take that away? Because this is like
Yeah.
such a simple but profound product.
Yeah, so in our past interactions on here, we've always talked about, hey, read the supplement facts box for any supplement you take. That will tell the story. So in this, there's just dietary fiber from pulpomanninin, which is, there's lots of different types of fiber on the market. Um, my position is the simpler, the better. There's nothing wrong with the psyllium husk, but it's going to be more intrusive. It's a bigger substance. It's harder to take, those types of things, right?
That's so interesting you say that, because I had somebody ask me that before about the psyllium husk. What do you think about that?
Yeah,
And my thought was, I wanted to put it in a glass of water and see what it
it'll do the
did.
same thing, but on a much larger scale. Because that scoop, I don't know if you guys notice, is very small. Okay, it's a very small scoop. That's a very small bottle. Okay, and like I take this product, I take 2 scoops a day, one usually midday, one in the evening. Um, if you go get a psyllium husk based product, the jar is probably going to be 3-4 times the size, and the scoop's going to be 10x, and that it's just more intrusive into your body, all that. So we feel like, from a formulation standpoint, this is less intrusive. Not only does all the things that psyllium husk does, but if you get into the science of it, it does a lot more.
It does a lot more.
Yep.
And I felt like when I did this with psyllium husk, I didn't get the gel.
Yeah, it
feeling.
becomes more like, because it's not gel, you still see the husk, right?
You still see the husk. So when you're thinking about it in terms of like, yeah, that's a great source of fiber and everybody can use fiber. But when you're thinking about it with regulating your blood glucose level, and literally mitigating the way that sugar passes through the bloodstream from the small intestines into the bloodstream, you want a gel mesh kind of substance so that it blocks it. It takes longer to pull that sugar through. So that's why this is our bestseller, because it freaking works.
There's not a person, I'd say 98% of the population, if not 99, is a candidate for this. They should take more fiber. It's a great tool, especially if you're trying to lose weight, prevent cravings, all those things.
Yeah. And naturally.
That's right.
So it's not only like try to lose weight, it's losing weight in a natural way, that you're putting something in your body that your body already needs. So we're talking about, a lot of different benefits of fiber. So not only helping you eat less, but regulate your blood sugar level, and much more.
Goes back to your number 3 root cause, right? Like, most likely you don't get enough fiber in your diet. Okay, just like you don't get enough water.
Another way of saying most likely you don't get enough vegetables.
Right, and it's fair. Like, you need to eat a lot of complex carbohydrates, vegetables every day, and it's hard, right? Because you get full so fast. Well, why do you get full so fast? Because of the fiber.
Because of the fiber. Right? Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk. We have one more thing, but one more product to talk about, which is the Crave Control. But I had somebody say up here, Kendra Clarkson said, I want to try Kendra, I'm going to tell you how you can try. When I post this to my main feed, which happens 5 minutes after this show ends, I'm going to post it to my main feed. In the comment section of that feed, comment the word supplements, then check your DMs. When you go to your DMs, you'll see a link to both the Fiberline and the Crave Control. And right now, just through February, actually only through Valentine's Day, so in the next 14 days, these two products, these are our February deals, Crave Control and Fiberline. You can get 20% off with code VDAY20, VDAY20. Because this is what's really going to help you not eat the whole freaking box of C's candy.
And there was a
And
question
I see a
to
lot of
take 2 times
people.
a day. Just to address that, kind of the clinical dose that you want to do that is 2 scoops a day. Now, but you can experiment with this. It's not a one size fits all. The way I use it is I take a scoop earlier in the day, generally before my first meal of the day, which is usually lunch-ish. And then I take another scoop, generally about a half an hour before dinner, which is usually 6:30-ish, right? And that's how I do it, right?
That's exactly how I do it. I don't do 2 scoops at a time, and the reason is because I eat a shit ton of
Yep.
vegetables, and so I don't
Yep.
need 2 scoops at a time. I take a scoop of this. I don't even take a scoop of this prior to lunch, because my lunch when I break my fast is all plant-based. It's all vegetables. It's full of fiber. But how I do take this, because I'm more lenient with myself at dinner,
Yep.
I take a scoop of this prior to dinner. And then, like you, my snacky time is like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. I love my little snacky time at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night. And so what I will do is I will, like we talked about on the number one, crowd out the bad with the good. So I will have alternatives, healthier alternatives that I already have planned. Okay, I know I'm going to get snacky around 8 o'clock. What else? Let's make sure I have put in place those things that are going to be better for me. And I will take a scoop of this and wait 15 minutes and then still have my
To me,
snacky
this
thing
is
ready
the
to go.
magic tool here. Like, yes, like if you're having the craving and you want to, make a healthy root cause assessment and decision, have a scoop
Yeah.
of that fiber and a big old glass of water, go for a 5-minute walk. And when you come back, if you feel need it, my guess is what will happen. You either won't, or you'll have a little bit and be like, oh, I don't want to do this.
That's what I've realized with this. Even though I still will take my snack. I will have this in the evening. I'll wait 15 minutes. I'll run around with the dog in the backyard, get out of the room, come back. I'll have my alternative snacky thing that I like, which is usually like a coconut yogurt with some berries in it. I'll do something like that so I get a little bit of sweetness. And if I still want that biscuit with the dark chocolate on top, by God, I'm going to have it. But the way that biscuit with the dark chocolate on top is going to hit my bloodstream is already mitigated by the mesh I've created with the fiber.
Yep.
So I'm going to eat less of it, and and not only that, but it has a lot less chance of being stored as fat.
Yep.
So to answer that question in a short way, we're going to talk about Crave Control now, but when I post this to my main feed, you just comment the word supplements. You'll get the discount code of VDAY20, and it's only going through Valentine's Day. Okay, hit me with this one.
Real
Crave
quick, I
Control.
was going to just address a vegan question real quick.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I just saw in there, are these vegan? So the fiber specifically is soy, egg, gluten, shellfish, animal, fish, yeast, tree nuts, corn, wheat, dairy, peanuts, GMO free. Okay. Getting into the legality, there's no legal definition of vegan. Okay. And so for a company like ours, we don't say vegan free or vegan or vegetarian because there's not a legal definition to back it up. And so it opens you up to things. So what I can tell you is it's free of all of those things, but we can't say that it's vegan.
And it's not, and animals you don't get fiber
That's
out
right.
of
Yeah, it's
animals.
animal products free. It's corn free. It's wheat, GMO free, all the things, right?
It's
So,
animal product
yep,
free,
yep,
right?
yep,
Okay, so yes, technically
yep.
it's vegan. I can say that. Matt can't, but I can say that. Okay, so let's talk about crave control, because I have got some clients that they take four. I've got one client in particular that takes 4 of these in the morning, and it helps them with their intermittent fasting because they don't feel like eating until lunchtime. So they have felt like with this and the combination of this, that it has really helped them with intermittent fasting. But tell us, explain to the viewers what exactly this is and what does it do?
Yep. So one of the very first things I brought up earlier on is that curve, right? So if you consume, let's use the example I use. Let's say you have a healthy fatty meal, and then afterwards you eat, this awesome dessert with a bunch of sugar in it, right? Whatever it is. Now that's going to cause this spike, this mountainous spike in our blood sugar. Okay. Well, that's not just affecting your blood sugar. It's affecting how you think, your brain. It's promoting you to feel good, right? We're promoting serotonin.
Yeah.
Well, what happens after that? Especially if it's an artificial high, there's going to be a crash, right? So we're going to dip down below, and now we're going to try to climb our way out of that crash, right? By probably making more bad decisions. So what AppCurb does is simply, whereas fiber is systemic and working in our guts to accomplish these things. And we'll have some other, mental benefits. AppCurb is specifically working on our brain, our
And
neurotransmitters.
you mean
Crave
crave control.
control, yeah. I call
Yeah,
it AppCurb too, because it curbs our appetite. But
it does curb.
so crave control is basically going to simply balance out that neurotransmitter curve by making us feel good in a healthy way, or promoting serotonin function in a healthy way, so that that curve is more of a slight curve or hill versus a mountainous spike that would happen after eating these sugars, right? So
Yeah.
this is filled with things in the supplement facts box. You can see them. That are gonna support that process. There's lots of different ways you can use this. She mentioned a client of hers who takes 4 caps in the morning, and it works great for her. I personally tend to recommend that people take a journal of when they get their cravings, so they know, hey, at like 2 o'clock every day, I'm reaching for X. And then at 8 o'clock, I'm reaching for this. So then I would say, hey, take your 2 caps of this around 11:30, and another 2 caps at 5:30. And that should help curb, right, that craving.
Yeah. That's I can tell you how I take this. I'm a health coach, so my diet my well, not might, let's hope, right? That my diet as a health coach is a little bit in the top 1 to 3% in terms of like what I'm putting in my body. But that said, I also don't believe in depriving yourself of anything, because you can deprive, and pretty soon it's just like all those defensives, the walls come down, and then you end up eating the entire bag of Doritos. So I don't deprive myself really of anything, but when I know that I'm going to get those munchies, which usually is around 8 p.m. for me, I don't take this in the morning because I'm fine in the morning. It's my nighttime snacking with the television. It's the mindless snacking with television. So I try to be more mindful. Like we said in tip number 1, I crowd out the bad. I make sure I'm drinking water. I get to the root cause of it. Why am I really eating? What's going on? I change the temperature in the room. I drink my water. I'll drink my fiber lean here. And then I will take this with dinner, because I know, not based on what I'm eating with dinner, that's going to spike my blood, but I just know my timing. And so I know that this is going to curb those cravings that normally happen for me around 8 p.m. And I only take 2. I don't have to take 4. I take 2, but I do have a client that said, I need to purchase this by the truckload. Don't ever, she said, she told me, don't ever discontinue this product.
Yep.
That was kind of
No, I think it's a
cool.
great way to use it. I think this is the truest form of a product. Experiment with it. Find
Yeah.
out, take your journal, know when you need it, when those things are going to pop up. Take it an hour or so before, if not a little
Yeah.
longer, and see how it works for you. One cap might work perfectly, you know?
One cap
Yep.
might work
Yep.
perfect. That's right. Yeah. My friend takes 4 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon, and she's lost like 40 pounds. But that said, you don't necessarily want to immediately take the maximum dosage, you
Always
know,
titrate up. It's much
always,
easier than titrating down.
absolutely,
Yep.
also always titrate up. Hey, for those of you listening, if you've got anybody that is struggling with cravings, you've got sugar addict friends, you've got, people in your family that they just are junk food junkies. Like this is their main go-to kind of foods. You might want to send this live to them, right? Or when I post this to my main feed, use that button and send it to them, because it literally, if you can control what you're putting in your body, if you give your sense that control back to be able to have a different relationship with food, it literally will keep you living on the planet longer and healthier. There was a question about caffeine in it. There's no caffeine in it, but you want to tell Matt, because we had this discussion earlier about when you'd want to take this, like what's the upper limit in terms of and it works different because we're working with those pleasure centers, and
That's
sometimes when
right.
you got those pleasure centers, you don't want to go to bed, you want to like go and do
Yeah.
something, so it's not, doesn't work the same way. But
And
explain
the
that question.
simplest way I would categorize this as a product that's going to motivate you, and then the result of that motivation is different for all of us, but it's going to motivate you to make better decisions because that curve is balanced, okay? And it's more of a flat line, and the serotonin function is coming from a healthier place. So these are ingredients are neurotransmitter supporters, okay? Whereas
Mm-hmm.
caffeine is just excitatory, right? It's going to come in, it's going to fire us up, whatever we're doing, and then it generally goes away and it causes a little bit of a regression and a crash, right? So if you take this at night after dinner at 8 o'clock, right? Most likely the result of that is going to be I'm going to want to go like do stuff. Like I want to, go whatever, clean the house, do the laundry, do work, stay up, whatever it is, right? So I wouldn't recommend. With that said, I've had people that take it at night and they love it. Figure it out what works best for you. I think the perfect scenario, I always use 80-20 rule for 80% of people is what we've suggested. Maybe 4 in the morning
Yeah.
or two during the day and two, with dinner time frame.
Yeah.
But experiment with it.
The latest I take this is with dinner.
Yep.
The latest I
Same
take
here.
this
Yeah.
is with.
I'm not taking this at, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night because I'm that person that'll get happy and like, go do a project.
Me
So,
too.
yeah. Yeah.
Me too. I'm like, oh, I just got an idea about a post I
Yep.
want to do, or I just got an idea about the Live Young 10-week
Yep.
method. Let me like go. It will help me to work, but it's not in a caffeine based way. It's in a pleasure center way of the
Yep.
brain.
Exactly.
And and the interesting thing about this is that there's research based on not only sugar and carb cravings, but also on alcohol cravings
Absolutely. And smoking. Because
and smoke.
again, it's lessening that yo-yo on the curve. Okay. It's balancing it out, which means you will make better decisions and you won't
Yeah.
be as susceptible to making poor decisions. It's not about just about, willpower, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to fight willpower when you're on this yo-yo, okay? So it's trying to balance these out, promote healthy serotonin function, which means generally we make much smarter and better decisions.
Yeah. Oreo Cows 8 just said, is it okay to take first thing in the morning and then have my coffee? Absolutely. My client that lost the 40 pounds, that's exactly what she does. She
What
takes 4 of these and she has her coffee. And she said it has really helped with her intermittent fasting. She doesn't even get hungry. She said, forget about cravings. I don't even get hungry until later on.
I would just caution,
Um,
I don't know how much coffee you drink and how much caffeine's actually in it, but
yeah.
we're talking about two excitatory things. So I would experiment maybe with one and then titrate up. And then what you might find is you drink less coffee.
Okay, and for craft's sake says, I can't wait to find mine, but I haven't received it yet, Darnell. I know for craft's sake won the whole Nozempic weight loss bundle, which we also have on the Shopify. Um, but she lives in South Africa and we haven't gotten it to you yet, but it is in transit. I'm going to get you right when I get off of here for craft's sake. Let me make a note and I'm going to check in on that and get you a tracking number. Because I can't wait for you to try it either. So we're gonna let's just recap real quick for people that are just joining. We talked about the 5 different ways that we can help curb our cravings. It's February. There's Valentine's Day candy on the supermarket shelves right now. How do you not eat the whole box? And how do you have more control of yourself? So Matt and I talked about 5 different ways. One is, I'm just recapping, one is to crowd out the bad. There's always healthy alternatives to stuff. And this includes don't buy the processed shit in the first place, right? Out of sight, out of mind. So that's number 1. Number 2, we talked about drinking water. Our bodies often mistake thirst for hunger. So drink a full glass of water. And Matt talked about women in particular in being really dehydrated these days. So super, super important. Always search for water first. Because sometimes we think we're hungry when our body is actually craving hydration. Number 3, we talked about getting to the root cause of it. What's really causing those cravings? Are you lacking sleep? Are you overly stressed? Did you eat shit 3 hours before that spiked your blood sugar level and crashed it and now you want more food? So what is actually happening that is causing those cravings, and what is your body really asking for that might not be that donut that is right in front of you? Number 4, we talked about changing the temperature in the room, which is moving that body, getting out. Matt goes on, takes a drink of water, takes a crave control, and takes the dog on the walk. I do the same thing, kind of in a different way, running around in the backyard, but changing that mindset of like, okay, you don't have to react to everything our brain tells us to do right away. And sometimes taking that time of getting out on a walk or changing the temperature of the room or drinking that water and then waiting, just doing something a little bit different, helps tremendously. And then number 5, we talked about, which is our go-to products, which is our crave control, which works with the neurotransmitters in the brain to help really work on that pleasure center. And I've so many clients that have lost weight on this. And then we talked about our Fiberline as well. Both of these products are on sale with the code VDAY20. When I post this to my main feed, you're going to just comment the word supplements, check your DMs. It's only going through Valentine's Day. Okay, how do we do? Anything else,
No,
Matt?
I think we did great. Only thing I would say is, circling back all those, is take a hard look at your habits and what you do and prepare,
Yes.
right, for when the craving happens so you know what to do.
Yeah. If your house is only filled with donuts, how are you going to prepare for the healthier alternative? Yep. Right? Like preparing and having a game plan, knowing when your body is going to be craving stuff, and then heading it off on the path. Yeah. That is a really good way to live longer and healthier.
And something I just remembered someone once told me, one of my doctors, is he actually recommends that people take crave control before they go shopping at the market.
Ooh.
Right? Because if you're someone that has a hard time kind of not grabbing what you don't want to grab off the shelf, if you take that crave control, half an hour, 45 minutes before you go shopping, you're more than likely, especially if you do it with fiber, to make some smart decisions.
Absolutely. I agree. Okay, that's it, everybody. Listen, I know that I was going to announce the winner of a Swyrise LED dome. I'm going to do it right after this show on Instagram stories, so make sure that you check that out. You're so welcome for craft's sake. I'm so glad you guys joined. Listen, I know you've got choices on where you can be on a Saturday at noon, and I'm so grateful that you have decided to spend this hour learning about how to take better care of your body with me and Matt Major. Matt, I thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Darnell. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, I'll see you guys next Saturday. Check out my stories for the winner of that LED dome, and make sure when I post this to my main feed, share it with friends that you know are struggling with weight loss. That's going to be so helpful for them. And make sure you comment the word supplement so you can get that link. Bye.
Bye, guys.